Welcome to the Tech Support Guy Show, episode 42 for Sunday, February 13th, the Prozac podcast.
Welcome to the Tech Support Guy Show. I'm Mike Cermak, known on the site as Tech Guy, and with me is Brian Hansen.
Hello!
Whoops. Oh, you were too fast. I'm too slow on the buttons. There we go. All right, there's Brian Hansen. And he's coming to us live from New Jersey, and appreciate you being with us. Unfortunately, Dan isn't able to be with us this time. He's got some family matters he's got to take care of, but hopefully he will be back with us next time, which will be Sunday, March 13th. So make sure you mark that on your calendars. Join us live in the chat like you, Curl, is, and a guest or two. And again, that's at techguy.tv. Just head to techguy.tv. You'll see our schedule there. You'll see the live video if it's going on. You'll see past videos, all that kind of good stuff. So we've got some tech news stories to cover this week, Brian. Not as many as we might like, or not as hard-hitting as what we might like, but we've got a couple. First, I've got a little tech story that I have to announce. And for anyone who doesn't know, who isn't on the site regularly, my son was born a month ago yesterday. Let me see here. There we go. Got to bring up a picture of him. And Cameron Reed Cermak, and he's doing very well. Just had a checkup here on Friday, and is looking pretty good. Mom and Dad could use a little bit more sleep, but otherwise we're doing real well.
He's all wrinkled, man.
He is all wrinkled. I don't know what's up with that. That's the way they came. I don't know.
Yeah. You look the same when you're born as you do when you die.
Yeah, they were trying to talk about which one of us he looks closest to, and we were just saying, well, he just looks like a baby, and someone said, well, he kind of looks like an old man.
That's very true. Most babies do, though.
Yeah.
Even Kate looked like an old man when she was born.
So anyway, thank you very much, and there's a bunch of pictures and everything posted on Tech Support Guy there as well under announcements, so if you're interested in following that and such, you can go into it there.
Congrats, Mike.
Thank you very much, sir.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to have play dates with your child sometime.
Yeah, we will.
All right, moving right along. So what story do we want to hit up first? We've been talking for, I think, years about Verizon possibly getting an iPhone.
Yep. The day has long been awaited, and it finally came on Thursday the 10th. The good news, I guess, for Verizon is that they sold out all of their pre-ordered iPhone 4s in less than a day. And they sold to their existing customers first, and then new customers were given priority after that. And so they sold out, and then they got a new fresh order of pre-orders that were going to be delivered, I think, on Monday. But all of that pre-ordering combined with the cold temperatures, the news is making it out like, oh, it's a lackluster launch because there haven't been any huge lines outside of Verizon wireless stores, outside of Apple stores signing up for the
It's such an old school way of measuring it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, the people are... We actually have to have people in front of brick and mortar buildings in order for there to be an exciting launch of a product? I don't think so. So anyway, the media is playing it up like it's not a big deal, or that Verizon's launch is lackluster. I kind of see the point, but they sold over 1 million in 24 hours, so that's kind of a big deal.
A lot of people eager to get off AT&T, or a lot of people who were stuck in Verizon and wanted an iPhone?
Good question. I'm guessing it's a very much a mix of both. There were a lot of folks that held on to their non-iPhone Verizon phones long enough to wait out until the iPhone launched so they could renew their contract with their network that they prefer and get new iPhones. I'm sure there were plenty of folks that paid the $350 early termination fee to get out of their AT&T iPhone contract and get a Verizon wireless one. But in all honesty, there's not a lot of differences between the two. But the few that there are actually kind of matter. First, the Verizon wireless version of the iPhone can actually be used as a personal hotspot. So for $20 extra a month, you can share the 3G Wi-Fi connection with the phone for up to 5 other devices. That's kind of cool. That's compared to AT&T, which lets you tether one device at a time for the same $20 a month fee. That kind of could weigh in on some people. When I heard that, Renee and I were like, oh, well, maybe she should get a Verizon wireless iPhone, and then we could potentially ditch Comcast for our cable internet.
I wonder how much bandwidth they give you, though.
Yeah, they say that they can limit. Well, they have an unlimited data plan currently. Same price as AT&T's like 2 gigabyte plan, $30 a month, unlimited. But they reserve the right to ratchet down the bandwidth speed of people that they consider to be overusers, which we would quickly become if 5 devices going through the phone.
I don't think we'd be able to be doing this podcast over that.
No, I don't think so.
Over the cellular.
But it would surprise the crap out of me. So that's kind of cool that Verizon has that going for it. On the flip side, one thing that it doesn't do, because it's a CDMA phone, which, by the way, reports are saying that makes it $9 cheaper for Apple to produce. And that's $9 in cost, not $9 in retail price. They are the same price on both networks, by the way.
What?
I know.
They don't pass that saving on to you?
No, they sure don't. The CDMA version means you can't use it internationally at all, first thing, and you also can't surf the web and be on the phone at the same time.
Right. That is one thing that GSM really has over CDMA.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that AT&T can still push, but other than that, I'm not sure what else they can really push as a differentiating factor. Verizon's got the hotspot thing. Right.
Supposedly AT&T is working on the same thing, but I honestly don't know if that's going to happen. And I don't know how it would happen without a hardware. It doesn't seem like that's just a firmware or software update.
I think it is. I know with the Palm Pre, there was a firmware upgrade that allowed it to be a hotspot, but that was disabled on Sprint network. But Verizon network supports it. But it's exactly the same hardware.
Well, actually, I think when they enabled tethering on the AT&T phones, all they did was do a firmware thing there too.
I think it is.
Yep. Okay. Well, so that could be something that Verizon loses as an advantage. And there was one other thing that says it doesn't represent much more of an advance. You're still gambling if you sign up for Verizon Wireless that their network can handle all of the surge in traffic as well as or better than AT&T's.
Right.
They notoriously have even worse customer service than AT&T. But, they're both really ugly customer service packages. I don't know that necessarily matters. But, so that's the rather uneventful and disappointing almost launch of the Verizon wireless version of the iPhone 4. Supposedly there's a new version of the iPhone coming this year. Supposedly Apple is also working on a low-cost version of the iPhone that would somehow have less features, be smaller, have less battery life, and less hard drive space, but it would get them down to like the $99 price point on a brand new 4G version of the phone, which could be promising. So more to come on that.
I'm surprised to hear that Apple would do that. They've always been such a high-end kind of game player. They're always have been against doing it cheap. Even whenever they were looking at they were looking at tablet PCs, and everyone was expecting to come up with a real low-cost tablet PC like everyone else was. The netbooks is what everyone thought they were going to be coming up with, and Apple came up and said, "Nah, we're not doing a netbook. First of all, second of all, it's going to be much more expensive."
Yeah. Well, maybe cheap is the wrong word to apply. Think about it as a lower tier. So, they had the iPod, and then they expanded iPods to iPod Nanos, iPod Shuffles. So while those are smaller and lower price points, you wouldn't really call them cheaper. They're just a lower
So I guess it would be an iPhone, but with a smaller screen?
Smaller screen.
I don't think that they would just reduce functionality.
Yeah, you're right. It's probably going to be a smaller phone overall, and potentially have less functionality. I don't know.
Hey, watch your mic a little bit there. I'm getting a little bit of popping. So, with Verizon grabbing the iPhone 4, I heard that AT&T is now doing something in an effort to try and keep customers with them.
Yeah, there's supposed to be
their last-minute little panic. Is that what that was?
It's think of it more as a token of gratitude to try and keep the existing customers that they have from paying the $350 termination fee. They've apparently started sending text messages to their probably a select group of their customers, i.e. those with coming close to ending contract dates, of 1,000 free rollover minutes. All you have to do is reply yes to the text message, and they will credit your AT&T account with 1,000 free rollover minutes, which, that's for most folks a month's worth or 2 months worth of free talk time. Take it for what it's worth. If it matters, it matters. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Seems like a pretty weak attempt to save business. Like, I personally don't care about my minutes. I have lots and lots of rollover minutes.
Yeah.
And getting an extra 1,000 of them would not tempt me to
persuade you not to switch. Yeah, if you were thinking about switching, it would that would not be the factor.
Right.
That's interesting. I don't know. I think they're going to have to do something a little bit more exciting than that to try and sell people. But it just seems like a panic. It's like they almost didn't even realize it was going to happen. They looked up and said, "Oh, what? Verizon has them now too? We didn't know that was going to come from 2 years ago."
Yeah.
And I wonder what will happen with the new iPhones that you were talking about whenever they do, or if they ever do come down the line, if someone's going to get them exclusive for a little while.
Early reports are leading to it would have to be launched on both networks at the same time. I don't know how you do that, though, if they're going to be on separate technologies.
Yeah, but lots of phones are launched on both CDMA and GSM at the same time.
Yeah, but not sold from the same... well, maybe they are. I'm thinking about walking into the Apple store, and they have to have a separate box and a separate model for Verizon versions versus AT&T versions. But I'm sure it's easily overcome.
I think it's something Steve can figure out.
Well, Steve's not in charge anymore.
How's that?
Well, he has bowed out again for medical leave.
I didn't know this. This is news to me.
Oh, you didn't know this?
Okay. I've been disconnected for a month. I don't know where I've been for the last month, but I feel like I just haven't been following things.
Yeah, so it was roughly mid-January, right around the time Cameron came along. But Steve has bowed out again. Tim Cook is taking the helm for a third time in his tenure. Tim Cook's the COO of Apple. And there's a little bit of a hubbub around succession planning for Steve and, having a firm plan in place and sharing it with the shareholders as opposed to
as they did it last time. And
right.
Yeah.
So Steve's in a sick bed somewhere. Hopefully he's doing well. But so Tim Cook is in charge, and he's been the efficient operational guy. Technically, they're claiming that he's the one that kind of marshaled the launch of the iPad, which was an extremely successful launch for Apple. So as far as stockholders are concerned, they should not be worried about Tim's resurgence to the helm. There's a question as to what's going on with Steve. And
yeah, right. Well, because he took leave back in 2009, was it?
Yeah, it was 2009. He was out for 6 months.
And that was cancer of some kind. I'm just trying to find my.
I believe it's that he has pancreatic cancer,
But did he have a transplant? I remember he flew across the country to some place that could do the transplant sooner than where he was, which was a little controversial.
But liver transplant in Tennessee is the official story.
There you go. Mm-hmm. So that's a shame. Sorry to hear that, Steve.
Yeah. Feel better, brother.
Right on. Well, that's a downer.
Yeah. Yeah, downer. And honestly, tech news in general these days, kind of a downer. Like, there's nothing really. Maybe I'm being a little too American about it and expecting constant immediate gratification. But there's nothing really big as far as I'm concerned going on these days. And that's one of the reasons we have lackluster news to report this time.
We ought to just make some stuff up, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, did you hear that Windows 8's going to come out next week?
Super.
That's like the most exciting thing I could have thought of off the spot. That is sad. That is sad. What's the most exciting thing that could possibly happen?
Did you hear that the Jabra is coming out with the new Jawbone Bluetooth headset? And it's literally a replacement for your actual jawbone.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
It has the Bluetooth headset built into your jaw.
That's nice. I heard that there's some controversy over the privacy of it. They're doing some kind of tracking of what you're eating so they can sell your information to. I don't know. I thought I was going somewhere there, but I wasn't.
They could report you to the government every time you have a Big Mac, and the government can fine you extra taxes
for health.
Yeah.
So anyhow, well, how about some happier news, at least for me, is Palm, or HP, I should say now, who bought Palm, announced that the new Palm Pre 3 will be coming out this summer. So all three of us Palm Pre users will really be excited about the new Palm Pre 3 coming out. In all seriousness, I do love my Palm Pre. I love the OS more than the hardware. I think it's the best OS, mobile OS, as far as multitasking goes, and has a lot of cool advantages and some disadvantages, but I'm a big fan of it. But they are coming up with a new one, and there's a Palm Pre 3, there's also a Veer, and then there's also a touchpad that's coming out. And their little slogan is think big, think small, think beyond. And that was kind of they gave that hint out before the press conference that everyone was expecting a tablet. And then there it came. There's a tablet, 9.7-inch screen, and looks suspiciously like a device that's already out there. It basically looks identical to the iPad. So I don't know what's going on with that. The new features of the phone, of course, they've got video chat just like you have on the iPhone 4. They have some neat things like, for example, if you have both devices, if you have, I was going to say an iPad, if you have whatever the Palm tablet is and a Palm Pre, you can make them work with one another. The example they give here is that if you have a URL open on one, you can tap the other device on it and it will open that URL on the other one. And,
really?
Yeah, and they're going to do other things back and forth with them as well, but just kind of a neat thing to make them play nice together. And a bunch of other little upgrades and things, but I'm excited about it. It's been a long time coming. Those of us who really like the Palm Pre operating system have really been left in the dark for a while because iPhone's been coming up with their new ones, and Palm's really hasn't come up with a new one since 2 years ago. Is that when the Pre came out? Because they announced it at CES, not last year, but the year before. Right. So it's been over 2 years since we've had an announcement on a big device. So I'm excited. I'm going to get it.
And so you're going to get the new Palm Pre.
Yep.
Are you going to get the touchpad?
I don't know. I'm going to have to know a lot more about that tablet.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, and you're right. That is what it's called, the touchpad.
Yeah.
I don't know. See, the biggest disadvantage with the WebOS operating system is apps. I mean, there are thousands of apps for it, but like 3,000, as opposed to the Apple iPhone and iPad where there are hundreds of thousands. I mean, that's a huge difference, and that's kind of a shame that developers haven't jumped on board. I'm hoping now that HP is in charge of it, they're going to be able to convince some developers one way or another to get on board and make some more apps. And I know the really hardcore Palm people are going to give me a hard time for pointing out that problem, because I've heard people say before, well, you only need so many tip counters, tip calculators, and you only need so many whatevers. But I don't know. You still want to have a variety of things out there. Right. The one thing I really hope that they do add, which is ridiculous that they haven't yet, is HTML email. Right now on the Palm Pre, you can do plain text email, but not HTML email. And that's just silly. I mean, get with the 1990s.
Yeah, come on.
So
you remember, I always think, every time I think of HTML, I always remember, you weren't there, were you? Mr. McCann's physics class?
I had Mr. McCann. I don't think I was in yours, though.
Oh, okay.
I loved it. I'll have to tell you why. But go ahead. Tell me your story first.
HTML. He always asked people if they knew what it meant, because it was kind of new at the time. This was 1997 for those of you listening.
HTML wasn't new in 97.
It was new to Waynesboro.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true. Electricity was pretty new then.
The most interesting definition he ever got was HTML stands for hot teenage monkey love.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah. You'll never guess whose mom that came from.
Whose mom? I bet I can guess.
That was Emily's mom. So
that's funny.
Em, if you're listening, little shout out to you.
Aw.
Yeah. So hot teenage monkey love.
I loved Mr. McCann's class, and I'll share this with everyone anyway, because, even though no one cares. By the way, I just saw him the other day at the Mexican restaurant in Waynesboro. He's doing real well.
Oh, yeah?
And,
good.
Yeah, I said, yo. But his class was awesome because he would come out in my class, and he would assign the lab for the day and show you how to do the lab and what he want written up on the report and whatever. And then he'd say, "Sir Mac, come back here." And he would almost every time, he'd have a computer in the back room, in this little storage room he had off of his main room, that was not working properly. And he'd have me go back there and fix it. And it was just awesome. I loved it. And one of I don't know if you remember Chris, I'm not going to use last names, but he really hated me for it. And he always went on about how unfair that was. And I was like, yeah, it really is, but it's awesome. And I remember I went back there the one time. He had this old server back there. It had a SCSI hard drive on it, and it wouldn't boot. And I said, "This is SCSI." I said, "I've never seen SCSI before. I don't know how to fix SCSI." And he says, "Well, work on it for a period and see what you can do."
Wow.
Like, all right. And I fixed it. It was the coolest thing.
You did?
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's awesome.
Anyhow. So,
maybe not learn physics, but you learned something.
Darn right. Something that I'm actually using. Hey, I think I did all right in physics, too. Anyhow, that was fun times. So,
Mac, I think I lost you.
Uh-oh, really? Am I talking to myself?
Oh, wait. No, there you're coming. You're coming back.
I see an alert down underneath your screen that says Skype had connectivity issues or something. That's what you get for using that mobile hotspot.
Not happening.
All right, so moving on. Let's
yeah, so you're waiting for HTML email to come to the new version.
And I'm upset because I haven't seen that in any of the reports yet.
Yeah. How did they? I don't understand. I guess Blackberry is still doing like basically plain text or possibly rich text.
Blackberry is so ridiculous. It looks like freaking Windows 3.1.
I know. They need to catch up.
So ridiculous. I don't understand how people use it.
Most people, i.e., consumers, don't use it. It's businesses that give them to their employees.
And force it down their throat, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's sad.
Yeah, it's a little sad. But things are changing. It sounds like enterprise software in general, enterprise technology groups are looking more and more at the Apple stuff and realizing it's really not that unfriendly. They just need to get off their duffs and actually do some work and build a server that can handle the Apple licensing. We'll see. In other news related to tablets, Apple, apparently there's a new tablet that Motorola has launched in earlier this month, the Motorola Zoom. Maybe it's been out even longer than that. But they have confounded a bunch of different analysts and consumers by saying that the Verizon wireless contract subsidized price. So you sign up for the contract, 2-year contract of services, you get the lower price, is still $800 for the Motorola Zoom tablet, which of course runs Android 3.0.
Wow.
$100 subsidized. For those of you keeping score at home, the subsidized price of the 3G AT&T version is $629 of the Apple iPad. So you're trying to figure that out. What the heck is Motorola doing, charging more than Apple for the subsidized version? And by the way, you can't even buy the Wi-Fi version. You have to pay for the 3G contract, and then through 3G you are allowed to enable the Wi-Fi. Makes no sense. Confounding is the only word for it, really.
There are some interesting things about it here. Features front and rear facing cameras, dual core processor, Adobe Flash Player, 10.1-inch widescreen HD display.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's worth more than my my computer at home.
Exactly. This is and you're guaranteed to pay at least $30 a month for Verizon's smallest wireless data bundle.
Well, and aren't you guaranteed that Motorola Zoom 2 is going to come out in like a year and a half?
I would think so, but we're pretty positive that iPad 2 is definitely coming out in the near future.
In the next couple of months is rumors
that's the rumor.
That the announcement will be made at least.
I don't understand. I don't understand Motorola's thinking on this. I don't know if it's Motorola pushing that type of price or if it's Verizon pushing that type of price. But they are completely alienating most folks. $800. $800 for, again, the Android version of everything. We would be curious to hear from any of you listeners or any folks in the chat room if you're ready to sign up for a Motorola 10.1-inch tablet PC with an $800 price tag. Anybody? Bueller? Not hearing anything. Anyway.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
That's crazy. Well, you'll have to let me know how it is whenever you get signed up for that and get your iPhone over on Verizon. You can get one of those while you're at it.
Okay, I'll do that. Get right on that. I'll just cut down some extra $100 bills from my money tree. I'll go do that. No, I mean, this is depressing. I need a freaking Prozac. This is the Prozac podcast. That's what this is.
Is that our title? You're already coming up with our title?
That's our title.
That's
our
it.
title. Steve's in the hospital. Verizon iPhone 4 kind of sucks. This tablet's way overpriced.
And I don't see anything on Palm's website about HTML.
Yeah, no HTML. Come on.
What are people doing?
What is going on in the world? I need Dan to come back. He could be on a rant right now.
He'd be telling us about why the Android-based tablet is worth so much more than the Apple-based tablet, because it's open source and something else, and et cetera. Et cetera, et cetera. That's the best I can do with that Dan being here. We need him, man.
We need him.
So,
we wish you well, buddy.
We do indeed. On some happier news, we're out of IP addresses.
Yay!
So the internet's going to come to a crashing halt anytime now.
Yeah. So what are we doing about that?
Yeah, minor details. So every device with some technical exceptions has an IP address that's on the internet. Any device on the internet has an IP address. That's how devices on the internet communicate with one another. So it's a unique phone number, a unique number that is assigned to each computer on the internet so that they can talk to one another without getting confused. And back when, it's called an IP address, back when IP addresses were developed in the 80s, they never imagined that they would need more than, however many. I think that IPv6 supports like 4 million. No, it's got to be 4 billion. 4.3 billion addresses. So the current.
Hang on, I'm reading it. Wikipedia says that IPv4 allows 4.3 billion addresses. IPv6, because it uses 128-bit addresses, says 340 undecillion
correct
addresses. I don't even know what that number is. Undecillion. That's 10 to the 38th power. That's a lot.
Yes, that is a lot.
Enough.
I'm trying to remember what that is. It's so many million, I think, addresses.
Well, 10 to the 6th is a million. So there are 6 1/3 millions in 38. So that's a million, 100,000s. There you go.
Which is hopefully more, well done, by the way, which is hopefully more IP addresses than we will need in the near future. They never expected we would need more than this 4 billion addresses. They never thought they'd have more than 4 billion computers on one network. And we can easily sit here and say, well, we'll never need more than a million, billion, whatever addresses. But, who the heck knows? Whenever each of our, wristwatches have its own IP address, and our remote controls each have their own IP address, and our fridge has its own IP address, and then all of our people who are living up in Mars are all connected on the internet, it's going to who knows? Even then, it's going to be a long shot. I don't think it's anything that we'll have to worry about. Maybe Cameron will have to worry about it, but we're not going to have to worry about it anytime soon.
Yeah, probably not. Although if China grows up in the next 20 years and everybody gets a car and then they give an IP address to every car because they start automating traffic controls, yeah, we could run out of those pretty quick.
Especially right in China.
Maybe not. Yeah,
I don't think so. I think it's going to be enough for quite a while. So that is the big story, is that we officially assigned all of the IP addresses to not two computers, but two countries. So there's no more IP addresses for the main organization that organizes it to hand out. So they're working to try and get IPv6 off the ground, which is the replacement that has all of these additional addresses. Not only does it have more addresses, it's also a much more efficient protocol, has a lot of extra features to it that make it a lot better than IPv4. And they've been working on it for years to try and get it started. I was trying to find my statistic here. In 2008, Google did measurements on it. They ran IPv6 temporarily, supported IPv6 temporarily, and they found that 0.09% of their users would suffer delays or be unable to connect due to incompatibilities with certain ISPs and certain devices and IPv6 at that time, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, 0.09% to
of
someone like
users?
me.
Right.
Yeah, but how many people visit Google every day?
Well,
and if you
yeah, I mean, so if you assume that they have a billion independent users every day, which is probably not far off, right?
I would say that's probably not far off.
Yeah, a percent of that is 10 million.
Right. Some minor detail. 10 million people can't get to Google,
Well, yeah, we're talking about a tenth of a percent.
Oh, that's true. So it's only
a million people.
It's only a million people.
But it's a million people. That's what if you're one of those million people and you have 999,999 other people that are angry about it? You don't think Google's gonna feel the pain? I mean, I get it's a small percentage, but we're talking about a million.
Well, and
people.
Obviously Google was pointing out the fact that is a big deal. And so anyhow, they are working on that. And there are ISPs like Comcast right now is in the process of testing IPv6 in certain areas. And I think as the big ISPs start rolling out IPv6, the smaller ones are just going to be forced to do it. And there is compatibility in between the two. You don't have to have everyone roll over to IPv6 right away. There's gateways that can go in between. But I think it's something we're going to be seeing more and more of. I wouldn't be surprised if you got a message from your ISP saying that they're going to be switching to IPv6 and you have to install this update. I don't think that's.
Is it just going to be an installed update? Like, if I'm not going to have to get a different version of the Motorola Surfboard?
No, unlikely. Unlikely. Yeah, it's just going to be an update to it. Most devices that have been made in the last couple of years already support IPv6 right out of the box, including any recent version of Windows. It's not going to be a huge deal. I mean, it's going to be a big deal in terms of this has never been done before. But as far as the consumer noticing it, there will be many people who will have difficulty connecting and so on, but it will not be widespread.
So it's not going to be like the whole transition from analog cable to digital cable with the television commercials for a year and a half on.
Oh, it may be that, but then it will also be the same way where it's only those, people over 80 who didn't bother to get the converter that will actually have the problem.
Yes. All right. So the million people that won't be able to get on Google are just 80-year-old folks looking for free Canadian medicine anyway.
Right.
All right. They can.
So mean.
That's fine.
So Ecom in the chat room asks, what would the new IP addresses look like? That is a good question. And will old addresses still be used? There's still going to be backward compatibility for IPv4 for a very long time. I'm not sure that we'll see it go entirely away for many, many years. In fact, as far as time frame goes, they're going to have a World IPv6 Day in June. And in June, they're having a lot of the larger websites have agreed to support IPv6 for this day in June, including Yahoo, Google, and Facebook, which will help test everybody. I mean, that's going to be a load and a half of IPv6 traffic, probably more IPv6 traffic than has ever been generated before. So ISPs that are going to be supporting it and going to be testing it will be watching that day to see what will happen. And I think based on what happens that day, it's going to help set up the time frame for how long these companies take to actually roll it over officially. As far as the way they look, it's kind of interesting. If you're a computer person, you know that IPv4 is is 192.168.0.1. It's 4 numbers with separated by decimals. So that's the 192s are real common. So 192.1. Who's doing the music for IBV6? Chat room's cracking me up. I'm sorry. 192.168.0.1 would be 1. I'm trying to remember the IP address for Tech Guy, but I forgot we're actually on a CDN now, so it might change. But 209.183.226.152. And the problem with that is that each one of those 4 numbers can be a number anywhere between 1 and 255, which is why we run into the limitation of only so many combination of those. So what's cool is with IPv6, it actually looks more like a MAC address. So instead of just being a value of 1 to 255, they're actually using hexadecimal. So you have many, many more, and it's a longer segment. So, for example, I love this, and I'll paste this in the chat room because it doesn't go over as well when I speak it, I'm sure. But the IPv6 address for Facebook is 262001 CFE, and then the next 2 blocks are FACE, which is hexadecimal, BOOC. It can't be K because there's no K in hexadecimal. But
okay, I have to call timeout. Timeout.
Come on, that's funny.
Talking in ones and you're literally talking in hexadecimal.
But that's funny. I guess you have to be.
I don't even know how to make my RSS feeder work, and you are talking in hexadecimal. I don't think you deserve HTML email. I think you should continue to suffer. Otherwise, you will wreak havoc upon the world.
Oh, I love it. It's just so funny. It's anyhow. But that's cute. So anyhow, so they look more like MAC addresses. Cute. If anyone is, if anyone out there is familiar with that's what it will look like.
Yes.
And that's how they're able to get so many more out of it, is that it's hexadecimal and there are additional segments. So anyway, something to look forward to for the geeks out there.
Yeah, all 3 of you. You're the same 3 people that have the Palm Pre.
Oh man. So
all right, let's call it.
Let's call it indeed.
Let's call it indeed. We're out of email addresses or IP addresses or whatever the hell Mike was talking about, and we're also out of news stories. I need a drink.
It's a little early for a drink, isn't it?
It's 5:00 somewhere.
Right on. Well, thanks very much for being here, Brian. If people want to find out more about Brian M. Hansen, where will they go?
To my house, probably.
That would be scary, especially if it's that million people who can't get on Google.
Yeah. You can find me on brianmhansen.com, on Twitter as Brian M. Hansen, or on the tech support guy site as Handy9, HANDEE9. Right
on. And again, I'm Mike Cermak. I'm tech guy on the site. You can find me at MikeCermak.com, Twitter at Mike Cermak, but only if you know how to spell Cermak. Go to techguy.tv, and I'm not even going to tell you. So there. Go to techguy.tv for past episodes. Go to techguy.org for tech support. If you're having problems with computers, having trouble doing that IPv6 thing, trying to figure out what else can I try and plug? Trying to get the hotspot thing working on your Verizon iPhone. Got something else in there. Then head over to techguy.org and we'll have a forum in there. There's volunteers standing by, happy to try and help you with your problem, including some of the people in the chat room. Thank you very much, Ukro, Ecom, guests in the chat room. Appreciate you being there. Try and be with us again next time. Again, that'll be Sunday, March 13th at techguy.tv. Have a good one.
Welcome to the Tech Support Guy Show, episode 42 for Sunday, February 13th. The Prozac podcast.